Alright, so my Wi-Fi's down, so I gotta record quest destination here, but oh yeah, up here. See what we got.
Excuse me. Are you with the Undying?
I am. And so it would appear, are you? Lord Rosfield, if I am not mistaken.
That's right. And you must be the third chair.
I am.
Cyril was worried for your safety. He sent me to find you.
Then I must apologize. I did not mean to trouble the bearer of the burning quill. Much less you, my Lord Marquis.
He said that you had failed to report. Is there a reason for that?
I came here to study the followers of this new faith. But the more I learned of them, the more my own faith began to falter. You have seen them at their prayers, have you not? They devote themselves to the veneration of their Lord with a fervor I have never seen before. Praying night and day that they might be rid of their wicked wills and reborn in their Saviour's light. Not that they might be granted respite from their worldly woes, but so that they might continue to serve him. Serve him with all of their beings. I too swore to devote my life to the service of my Lord and Master, but this... it is different. It is more. And so I would see it through to the end. See these people safe, that they might achieve their dream. That they might do their duty to their Lord. Even if it should keep me from doing my duty to mine.
You do understand what their dream is, don't you?
I do, my lord. They would cast aside their wills and become a Kashik. I know that it may be hard to believe, but to these people, that is the very essence of salvation. Forgive me, my lord, but I must remain here. If you are to return to Master Cyril, I would consider it a great... Did you hear that, my lord? Something is happening.
I'll go and find out what. Stay here. Beneath the flood. Oh no. There must be something I can do. Echoes as well. Found her. Ready, brother? Ready.
Wow, good stuff.
What now?
Whoa, that's a big guy right there.
We meet again. I've killed your kind before.
Got him.
Damn it. Don't you die. Come on, speak to me.
I had to save them, that they might have a chance to find true salvation. By devoting themselves to the service of their Lord. Just as I did when the Undying plucked me from the gutter and gave me a cause to believe in. A duty to serve was everything to me, and I would not deny them that fulfillment, even if they must become a Kashik in order to achieve it. Forgive me, my Lord Marquis. I did not mean to trouble you with this. My findings. Could you deliver them to Master Cyril for me?
Of course. Your duty will be done.
Look, my lord. They are saved.
They are saved. Founder. I should get this report to Cyril.
My Lord Marquis, welcome back. I am glad to see you hale and whole.
I met with your third chair, Cyril. He bade me deliver his findings to you.
Thank you, my lord. He remained in Ash?
He died protecting the villagers from an echo. I buried him in Mickelberg. I'm sorry that I couldn't save him.
If you could not save him, no one could.
The villagers, they were believers in this savior cult. They prayed to their god that they might be unburdened of their wills. Then an ether flood came, and their wish was granted. Your brother sacrificed himself that they might live, even knowing that that life was death by another name.
Then he perished defending liberty. A hero's end. For the right to choose how one dies is no less sacred than the right to choose how one lives.
Sid would agree. He wanted to build a world where people could die on their own terms.
A noble ambition.
To die for one's cause is the most perfect expression of one's faith. It matters not how misguided others might judge one's decision to be, only that the decision is one's own. We live according to the teachings of our order. We believe in them, we protect them, and yes, we die for them. For better or worse, that is our creed.
But he didn't die for your creed. He died to save them. And you still believe that what he did was right.
I believe that he believed it was. We of the Undying are not slaves, but willing servants. And this was his will, the ultimate expression of it.
All right. I'd like to know this man's name, Cyril. To know the names of all the Undying who've fallen in the line of duty. They died serving my house. It's only right that I remember them. That is my duty.
Of course. I shall fetch the Book of Martyrs at once. My lord, it has been, and shall ever be, the greatest honor of my life to serve House Rosfield. Though our duties may differ, yours is no less important. I pray with all my heart for your success. And were they here, I have no doubt but that every one of my fallen brothers and sisters would feel the same.
Okay then, good shit.
Uncle, I bring good news. The Field Marshal has agreed to your plan.
Of course he has. I didn't doubt you for a moment, dear boy.
Rutherford is accompanying him back to your manor in Porter's Alder as we speak. They will await your return there. As will one other.
One other? Who, exactly?
Lord Havel was concerned that even if he could get the realm's armies to agree to an accord, he might not be as successful in convincing those with political power. He asked if I might have a solution. And I suggested a certain Imperial Lord Magistrate turned Liberator.
One of your co-conspirators?
Master Quinton would probably call me one of his. But yes.
Another outlaw, then. Just the thing we need to put these rotten politicos in their places. Good thinking, Clive.
I'm glad you approve.
The more the merrier, eh?
Uncle, assuming Havel and Quinton can solve our problem with the armies, you still haven't mentioned how we might manage the grain shortages.
Oh, don't you worry, my boy. The 7 high houses will be seeing to that. They have all agreed to make the most generous of donations. Oh, of course, it did take a little persuasion, but luckily I had some unexpected help.
From who?
Why, you, my boy. Rumor has it that you rescued the Lady Ariane's head steward Rockford from a horde of bloodthirsty bandits.
It was more of a handful.
Well, the old battle axe was so pleased. She had a shipload of talents delivered to my private docks by the next new moon. And when the other houses saw the parsimonious old crone's purse strings finally loosened, they as good as tripped over themselves in the rush to follow suit.
I'm happy to hear it.
Now, I must be getting back to the manor. Join us there at your earliest convenience, would you?
Of course, Uncle.
And how, pray tell, will we get that grain to the capital if the roads are still overrun with Akashic?
You'll find another bloody road. I only have so many men, and I'm not about to send them headlong into an ether flood. That is, unless you'd have them turn as well.
Well, I'd certainly eat less.
Says the man with a belly bigger than a band of curls. My soldiers actually need their rations. Without any food to keep them going, they'll be dead even before you've sent them on your fool's errand.
If I may, gentlemen, perhaps I might suggest an alternative approach. Though supply routes are indeed disrupted, there is no shortage of ships. Indeed, they bob away in every bay from here to Randalar, awaiting a safe haven. Allow them to make port and fill their bellies full of grain. And once those who crowd the cities are fed, ferry the displaced back to the countryside to work the fallow fields. But I'm sure that you wish to continue your discussion. Forgive the interruption. Two such firm friends as yourselves need no help from the likes of me. Rutherford spoke fondly of the great bond between you.
Us? Friends?
I can't stand the man.
Clive, I'm beginning to question the quality of the company you keep.
And what kind of company were you expecting him to keep? The man's a criminal.
Criminal? How dare you? You are not fit to breathe the same air as this fine, upstanding young gentleman.
Upstanding? He calls himself Sid the Bloody Outlaw!
Once more onto the breach.
Yo, this setup looks sweet at nighttime. Look at that. The PS5 has its own stand right there. Looks good. Looks really good. Vegeta? Oh, it's too dark.
Shall we begin again? What we seek here is not to create a new nation, nor to claim the thrones of those that already exist. We wish simply to bring stability to the realm that mankind might weather the current storm. And to do that, we must convince those in power, the generals, the statesmen, the nobles, that our cause is just. There will be disagreements, yes. And I imagine some resistance, much resistance. But we cannot let that deter us. If we show them the path, show them that we walk it ourselves, then I am confident they will follow. The fate of the world lies in my nephew's hands, but the well-being of her people lies in ours. And we must not squander the chance that Clive has given us.
Uncle Byron,
Now, with that settled, let's move on to the signing of the Accord. For what great moment in history hasn't been accompanied by a little ceremony? Citizens of Valisthea, I present to you the Triunity. Rutherford, Mike Will. Well, my boy, the stage is set.
that it is.
This is the role you were born for. Now I ask only that you trust in the talents of your supporting cast. We shall play our parts to the best of our abilities, that you might have the opportunity to shine. The realm needs its Sir Crandall. And there is no better Crandall than you, Clive. I want you to keep this signed accord as proof of our faith in you.
I will. Thank you, Uncle.
Nice. Good shit. Yeah. Let's go.
It's day 130 of the second Trump administration, and we're starting tonight with, you guessed it, money, power, and politics. Today, Trump's tariffs are back on thanks to a federal appeals court. They put a pause on yesterday's ruling that blocked most of the administration's tariffs. My colleague Gabe Gutierrez has all those details.
Tonight, tariff whiplash. A federal appeals court ruling President Trump's tariffs can't stay in place for now, temporarily pausing last night's ruling by the U.S. Court of International Trade that had blocked most of the president's sweeping tariffs and given the White House just 10 days to unwind them.
Three judges of the U.S. Court of International Trade disagreed and brazenly abused their judicial power to usurp the authority of President Trump to stop him from carrying out the mandate that the American people gave him.
President Trump relied on emergency powers outlined in a 1977 law to enact many of his tariffs, but the court said that use is impermissible, not because it is unwise or ineffective, but because that law does not allow it. Small businesses in a dozen states have filed the lawsuits. It's just been surreal. Victor Schwartz is the lead plaintiff and the founder of VOS Selection, a small New York-based wine company.
The tariffs are a cash flow killer, particularly impactful for a small business. This kind of uncertainty is terrible for business. It's impossible. You're just guessing.
The president still has other means of imposing tariffs on imported goods, and the White House says it will keep negotiating with other countries to reduce trade barriers on American products, despite the uncertainty. Why would other countries continue these trade deal negotiations?
Because other countries around the world have faith in the negotiator-in-chief, President Donald J. Trump. And they also probably see how ridiculous this ruling is, and they understand that the administration is going to win.
The sound of ringing.
So now Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is left to try and strike all of these big trade deals amid even more uncertainty. Right now, our trading partners, whose relationships with the United States affect hundreds of millions of people, are cautiously trying to figure out what in the world is next. And as the New York Times puts it, they are left to choose between chaos and hope. Once again, it seems like chaos is the only constant when it comes to Trump's tariffs. Or as Karl Rove, Republican Karl Rove, wrote in the Wall Street Journal, quote, maybe these apparent flip-flops were all planned by the master of the art of the deal, but to many, it just looks like cleanup on aisle 6. All right, let's bring in our lead-off panel this evening. It's a great one. Peter Baker is here, Chief White House Correspondent for the New York Times.
Shirley says your books
Sarah
are
Lennon,
quite
Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter with the Washington Post. And right here,
Sid, you have to help us.
With what? You didn't take apart another of Mid's contraptions, did you?
No? Well, yes. But that's not what we want to talk to you about.
It's Miss Middledore. She's been acting strange. Very strange. She's barely ever around.
When she is, she acts like we aren't even there. Her head's in a crowd.
In the clouds.
That's what I said. In the clouds.
Well, she does have a lot on her mind. When did you last see her?
Not long ago. Ah, Right after she got back from saving you from Stone It.
66-year-old Jimmy
it's
Glass
probably just
owned
about the
multiple
Enterprise.
licenses, paid his taxes
It
for
did take quite a
decades, and
battering
was
on the way
even
there
in
and
the
back.
military. So he got the
Didn't
shock
hurt
of
you,
his
did
life
you,
when he
Sid?
learned that he was
You
never
really should
officially
be
an
more careful
American
around
citizen.
Miss
He was
Middledor's
born in Canada,
inventions.
had one American parent,
Don't
moved
listen to
forward
her.
at age 2,
Even if
and
you did
never
break the
left. He
Enterprise,
just always
you
assumed
could
he
put
was
it
a
back
dual
together,
citizen, and
couldn't
no
you?
one questioned his citizenship
Who's gonna put
until
Miss
he
Middledore
officially
back together?
retired and was waiting
seems
for his
really
first
sad.
welfare check. That's when U.S. immigration was like, "Oh, sorry, bro, you were never actually a citizen. The Social Security you've been paying us all your life for is gonna be voided." So he formally applied for U.S. citizenship, but was denied because he didn't provide enough evidence, even though he's got the old paper licenses because he's been in the country for so long. I really feel bad for Jimmy. The U.S. immigration system has fucked more people than every prostitute in Vegas combined. I'm on that list too. That's why I left America after 8 years. Jimmy hired an attorney, but as of today, his case has still not been resolved. 66 years.
Why don't I go and see if I can cheer her up?
You do that? For us? She's in her dungeon.
Don't scare him. It's not a real dungeon.
Thanks for the warning.
It takes 500 applications right now to land one offer.
The job market right now is so trash that you might as well just stay at that shitty job that you hate until you get like another job locked in. So I'm just saying, it's truly like a vacation, but that's nothing. And when I had a job, I would see people come on here all the time talking about the job market's shitty, that it sucks. And I really thought they were just talking. I didn't think it was true until I actually was unemployed and was looking for jobs. And that hit me like, damn, bro,
Alright, buckle up. So if you couldn't tell, yeah, so I've looked at applications for one. I'm having a hard time. A lot of these people are young. Not all of them, but like, as a 35-year-old dude, you ever hear that saying, your net worth is your net worth? That makes sense now that I'm older. I feel that I can every time I get a little weird here in my pocket, I'm gonna have a job. I'm just saying, it might not be the ideal situation, but I'll have a fucking job. To be fair, some of these that we're gonna watch are real criminal. Also, for the Asian woman, selling dick pics ain't that easy.
I'm calling bullshit on the people. If it was that easy, just do that. If I could just sell Harry Netflix, or if there was a niche market for pussy like job searching for that? And I'm not talking about anybody who's trying to get that. Try calling people you're rolling that out.
Jobs become so impossible to get. A couple weeks ago, I went into Guitar Center looking for a job, and the manager said they were hiring, so I was super excited. I showed him some of my videos. He was like, "Yeah, you'd be a great fit for this role."
Get that because I'm showing my videos like, I don't know, grab a catcher and I'm like, you know,
Go by, that someone else for the role. Whatever. Yesterday, my apartment, so I had to get some new strings. I go to the store, not even looking to talk to the manager or anything. I just want the strings. I go to open the front door to the store, locked. I look inside, all the lights are off. Okay, that's weird. There's a little paper sign on the door that says, "Sorry, closed due to staffing issues."
no.
Are you kidding me? Are you telling me you'd rather have the store closed than have me working it? And it's not like they're going out of business either. I single-handedly keep that Guitar Center in business. So now I don't have any guitar strings. But the good news is I did end up landing a summer internship, my son Miracle, at an awesome company. So I'll be selling my soul to corporate America now.
Good job. Dude. I feel like Guitar Center would be a pretty fun job, especially if you like actually play guitar or drums or something. You're like a music geek. Yes. Instead of selling my life to rock and roll and the devil. I'm just having, when we get these 500 application deals, I think it's getting to a point where if we know that applying to these jobs online doesn't seem to work, there's gotta be. Check out everything. I don't want old stuff. I want to see myself out there. Something real quick after the video, I was that's good. I really want to watch it. I want to watch it. It's kind of good. Anyways, maybe I am out of touch. And I don't mean to be like 35 and have a real job up until I was 34. I'm thinking full-time living on YouTube, still working today. It's only been about 2 years now since I've been doing this full-time. I've worked a regular job my entire life. I've been laid off, showed up to a restaurant. Stores closed, they closed down, neglected to tell any of their staff. I get it. I've been. But I am having, maybe I am out of touch in the sense of, hey, rockstar, you're absolutely collaborative work environment with relentless drive. Got hired after a manager proved that their agent was highly executive all down that. But they were really going to have some job. This one too. Same stories put up on today, along with some of your comments with your experiences from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave your comments down below. I don't want to take up too much more time with the intro, so we're just going to jump right into it with a couple of stories back to back. I had a candidate show up 25 minutes early to an interview for an office administrative company. I said, let them call the to drop us. To start the job earlier. What's the early to work? Yes. Should we get coming on Monday? Yes. Don't just do what's asked of you. Do what you ask.
So if you come in too early for the job interview, that's a red flag and you won't get hired. But if you do get hired and come in less time, first start working, that's really I feel like this is exposed to the company to a wrongful termination suit. What I also think is insane is that both people decided to purchase to look at one of the posts was Facebook and the other one was LinkedIn. Either way, it's on social media. They thought but to switch over to some of the posts that I've seen recently, project manager entry level in New York, one of the most expensive places to live in the world. I thought right off the bat that the entry level is kind of weird if you are the project manager, but you need 8+ years of experience. Just the fact that we see now in the entry level job still requires years. I feel like it's job massages to help the boss relax, as he does mixed martial arts. The amount of red flags I see right now is unbelievable. On job and travel abroad. I saw
oh shit.
$13 an hour. I couldn't believe it. That first degree you'd be getting paid less than the best food employee. Then you need 2 years of experience on top. Okay, that's just like office assistant, okay? Enjoy what's it pay? $8 an hour, bro. It's too low. I do like this guy. He's made an entire series just going through LinkedIn job postings, sharing how many jobs I don't know how many schedule 12-hour shift, 8-hour shift, day shift, Monday to Friday, and morning shift. It almost seems like it's tags, for keywords on a YouTube video or a hashtag on Instagram. I don't know why it's put on a job application post, but I guess that means you could have 8, 10, or 12-hour shifts and 2 jobs for $8 an hour. Here we have one for the interviewing process now. Submit an application on our website, then you have the phone call interview with the people team, about 30 minutes there. Then you have a virtual interview with the project managers, another 30 to 45 minutes. Interview with the senior project manager, another 30 to 45 minutes. Interview with engagement leads, 45 minutes. Interview with chief delivery officer, 45 minutes. And an interview with a
We were never built for this. Not the lights, not the likes, not the endless scrolling of strangers screaming into the void, each one echoing back with venom or silence. We crawled from caves to a concrete jungle. But the soul is still soft clay, still scared and aching for firelight and quiet. Now we bleed ourselves into pixels, shouting truths into algorithms that chew us up and spit us back as trends, as jokes, as failures. We reach out, hoping someone feels it, hoping someone understands, and instead they mock the tremble in our voice, the crack in our mouth. How How do you evolve a heart fast enough to survive millions of opinions all at once? We weren't made for this. We were made for the moments, for the space between two eyes that says I see you, not for the weight of everyone all the time. And maybe that's the tragedy, that we try anyway. We were never built for this. Not the lights, not the likes, not the endless scrolling of strangers screaming into the void, each one echoing back with venom or silence. We crawl.
Well, even though it's not always glamorous, the truth always does surface. And when it does, yikes. We now know a little bit more about the financials of Canada Post, and it's pretty heartbreaking. Like, no wonder they're going on strike. They're just trying to pass the buck a little bit further to eventually, I don't know, survive as long as they can, but it's not good. Also, hidden things that happened in Mark Carney's exclusive interview with the bald guy from CBC. Also, CBC questions Mark Carney's first day at work, right? His first day, how was school, little buddy? Well, it's kind of an interesting flap. Rosemary Carney from all of that and a couple of other things. Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video review. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help the channel, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off with Canada Post showing a massive office of the funds. As a post starts with just find office to the country on this week. The Crown Corporation said the office of the return to the table to address the key issues both parties have brought forward during this round of negotiations. The union had been in a strike position since last Friday, but opted instead for a ban on overtime. Canada Post has just released its annual report on the average employee career. The Crown Corporation says its operating loss for 2024 was nearly $1.3 billion. The postal workers strike in December cost the company $208 million, and total revenue for 2024 was $200 with 12% compared to Canada Post stop action right now stop. Hey, like that doesn't even make any sense. What the hell are we doing? Why are we trying to subsidize a company that's losing $8 billion a year, dude? What is up with this liberal ideology that you can just spend, and things are eventually going to work out? At what point do we cut off the arm? Save the body, cut off the yeah, dude, that's a man who should absolutely be paying more attention to. But anyways, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts and comments on that one. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at how Ontario is amending controversial Bill 5 amid criticism from First Nations.
We're getting started tonight with some late-day action at Queen's Park over the Ford government's
Hey, stop that.
Bill 5.
Don't scratch the chair. It's not your chair. It's
The
mine.
government is making some last-minute changes to it after a group of Indigenous youth spoke out against it once the opposition is trying to stall the bill. This is what comes to talk to us on Queen's Park tonight. Miranda, tell us what's happening with it.
President Liberty with the opposition bill in the middle of a filibuster. And so that's when they have the committee room just down that hallway. They plan to sit until midnight, going through every single part of this bill. That happens with all bills, but they're going through every single clause, trying to delay this as long as they can. It is one of those political games, but one that they say is necessary. This bill? It just takes us backward. The opposition again warned the government about its legislation. You can call them special economic zones, but what we know you are doing is opening up the floodgates for an abuse of power by government. The government says the goal of those zones is to speed up big projects, such as mines, highways, and power plants. Some Indigenous leaders spoke out against the bill earlier in the week, and the government is now making some changes. In addition to those special economic zones, it says it's developing regulations for new Indigenous-led economic zones. Plus, they added an amendment that regulations will recognize Aboriginal and treaty rights, including the duty to consult. So by law, the government is already required to do that.
Under no circumstances will we compromise treaty rights, Madam Speaker, or the duty to consult. In fact, it will be a sharpened focus with First Nations who've approached us.
But Indigenous leaders warned the government would be headed towards blockade and protests, like the former federal Conservative government faced more than 10 years ago.
It's an insult to First Nations when you choose things on the very last minute, at the 11th hour.
He says the government failed on consulting and feels they'll be forced to make more amendments. The Premier says these changes are needed right now.
We're in an economic war against President Trump. We want...
No, we're not. No, we're not. In fact, the tariffs have actually been reversed due to international trade court based out of the United States. So no, we're not in an economic war with the freaking United States, man. That's absurd. Like, drop that crap, Ford.
We want prosperity for the First Nations communities right across our province.
The NDP also attacked that idea, saying rights will be trampled if this bill passes. What we cannot do is fight back against Trump's trade war by adopting Trump-style tactics, right? But that is exactly what this Premier and his government are doing. Outside Queen's Park, people protested against the bill, Indigenous people and environmentalists. It would also water down the Endangered Species Act, giving Cabinet the final say on whether a species should be protected. And here inside Queen's Park, it could be a pretty late night for some MPs. I'm told that the latest that committee meeting can go is until midnight, and so that filibuster, it will continue. They are on a dinner break right now. They'll be back at 7 p.m. And I just spoke with a Liberal MPP who was walking out of the committee. He said they are also taking part in that filibuster. So a few more hours to go. They are requesting votes on every single piece.
This time is different because the debt market has lost its footing and is now no longer a reserve asset of accumulation and that people want to hold. And in actual fact, gold is the beneficiary. I suppose that's the sunlight in what's a pretty doomer statement, is gold is here and it's big. Unfortunately, we're going to find out who owns the gold and who did it. It's going to be a very polarizing event.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and these are the Miles Franklin weekly specials for Memorial Day through June 2nd, 2025, while supplies last. First this week, we featured 2025 1/10-ounce gold eagles at just $59.99 over melt. Next, backdated 1-ounce silver eagles are just $4.79 over spot. And finally, constitutional 90% silver dimes and...
Ned, if you have a...
That's it! I knew it! The answer was right here under my arse all along! If this doesn't steer to the skies, nothing will!
To the skies? You aren't trying to give the Enterprise wings, are you?
What else would I be doing?
The children seem to think you're avoiding them. They're worried about you. Is this really so important that you need to shut yourself away from everyone?
The Enterprise is already the fastest ship in the realm, and that's with the sea beneath her. But what if she weren't bound to the waves? What if she weren't bound to anything at all? It's not fair. The gods get the skies all to themselves, so I'm gonna do something about it. The Fallen had their chance, but they relied too much on magic. And see where that got them? But not me. I've discovered how to do it without. Well, almost. First, I need to make a prototype.
And is that a one-woman job?
Are you volunteering? I'll have you know the Enterprise is my baby. But if a godfather's offering to lend a hand, I'd be happy to take it. First, I'll need oil, and not just some old drippings from Miss Molly's spits in the Tub and Crown. Refined stuff, like they make in Ordil. Then I'll need some bone, or shell. Light, strong, preferably no longer attached to the beast it belongs to.
If it's beast bones you're after, I'm sure the curse breakers will know where you might find some.
No, they'll know where you might find some. You're the one who offered to help, remember?
I should speak with one of the curse breakers before I set off for Old Hill. See if I can't find this bone while I'm there as well.
Jasne.
Has Midadol mentioned a new project yet?
Not exactly. She seems preoccupied.
Orders are just $1.99 over spot. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is our good friend Francis Hunt, the Myron Market Sniper. Francis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Delighted to be back.
So there's a
Well,
new
it's
lover.
great to have you today.
I see
I
you're
did want to
right.
discuss the subject that you've been talking about, and actually since 2020, I believe, you have been talking about a crisis in the debt market, but in particular, the Japanese debt market you've been reporting on lately. What is happening there?
Oh, wow, yeah. Long ends of debt across the world, in fact. So, September 2020 was when America's debt came into focus for us and we called short. And we traded the TLT then and again, and you lost around 45% in the next 2.5-3 years, which has subsequently seen a lot of big names also positioned to the short side, which some of them were mentioning in November of last year, like Stanley Druckenmiller and Paul Tudor Jones. However, this focused, America's collapse in debt has focused people's minds across all the nations. So after 2020, after that fall, we actually took a look at British debt, we took a look at European debt, and we took a look at Japanese debt, and came to the conclusion that we expected, actually, especially on the long
What are you doing up there?
long by duration, so that means 10, 20, and 30 years. I don't want to be too jargony. Many people don't understand bond markets, so long durations rather than 1 and 2 years, which would be considered short. And what's happening is those rates are going up, and the longer you are facing what is a financial repressionary environment, so that is, we need to devalue debt, so we're actually paying a much lower interest rate than is the true inflation rate. Particularly in stagflationary times, the inflation rates often get masked because there's downward pressures due to lack of growth and a lot of people feeling a recession at the one time. And then actually in terms of cost of living, there's quite strong upside. So there can be a sort of a dimming and a brightening aspect countervailing forces. But in actual fact, it's stagflation. And this is very much like Volcker during the 68 to 82 was a stagflationary period. Equity markets barely went anywhere. Things devalued. So we're going to have a bigger hyper version of that. In fact, we've begun to experience that. That's our overall opinion. And that's been led by devaluation of debt. So the rates going ever higher, a lot faster. The Japanese, everyone assumed Japan's just barely over zero. Quite some time ago, we were doing YouTube from 22, 23, talking about Japanese debt. They got the worst viewing numbers of everything. You talk about Japanese debt market, it's an absolute lose everybody. I mean, 50% of our audience is American, by the way. Thank you to America for your support. A large part in the UK Commonwealth. You put people to sleep. But it didn't help us because I was going to do it anyway because I felt this was part and parcel of the great debt-based collapse. That means it's not just a US story, it's a global debt story. And this is why we've joked when we come on board with you, we've spoken of lepers, the leper colony. We're all lepers. Not just American leper, there's lepers from all nations. We all kiss the same leper and live the same things and synchronize. There's no sound money nation really in truth. And there's debt all over the place. Now the rates on many other nations are not quite as high yet as the US. European are lower, but they don't look after their military to the same degree. That's come up with the NATO discussions and Trump, and they're now having to spend more. So we've got upside setups across the board. Dutch, German, French.
I told you how many times?
You know, a bit suspect and circumspect about the Southern European, but I'm showing you all the supposed legit nations in terms of financial prudence are all in upside technical structures for higher rates. And the UK is probably the closest to replicating America by being quite poorly set and their rates going quite a lot higher. And I'll show you a couple of those charts. But what that means, Elijah, is that when rates go up, the debt needs to be devalued. It's going down. That's when that's happening, it's good because you're shrinking your over-borrowing. But it's bad because the rates are higher, and that means affordability of housing goes down. And housing is mathematics. It's, what is the average salary? How much can people put down? What's the likelihood on underwriting of them going bust? In other words, what's the environment like? A raising interest rate environment, borrowers are not very keen to borrow. They want faster margins, they want bigger deposits, they decline more credit, they're going to be less flexible on subprime and damage credit, and they are also going to price future increases. And the debt instrument they create, which is their asset, is no longer desirable for underselling securitization to other investment companies that are in pension crises, because they've already stuffed to the gills with supposed debt instruments that have all lost immense amount of value. So debt is going out of fashion just as the most supply is ever coming into the stores. So that's why I always joke about pink frogs. No one wants to buy them anymore, and you've got 6 oil tankers stuck with them bringing them to your store. It's the wrong product at the wrong time. That's deeply devalued, and in fact, you're going to pay to have people take them away. Never mind an asset, and that's kind of where we are in the debt markets cycle. So governments are going to go into scavenge mode because they can't borrow as easily, so they need more tax. So you're going to get repressionary socialist agendas that have been driven, higher taxation. Apart from the big beautiful bill